So societal structure. So we're talking about here specifically.
How do they deal with other treants?
Yeah, treant to treant.
Yes.
That's it. And maybe how their society reacts to other societies, maybe, but mostly just treant to treant, societal basis. All right, so what do you got?
So what I got, pretty simple. So you're probably thinking like, so are there like mommy trees and daddy trees? Well, yes and no. You see, so all treants can make more trees. So a normal treant, so you know ones with the beards and that stuff, they can plant. They can like I believe it's on their back, but saplings will grow and they'll rip them off and then they'll plant them to make more trees.
That's the females, right?
The females. Here's the catch. So a normal treant can do that. A very it's a low percent chance that tree will grow into a treant.
Yeah, every tree, like what causes treants to become treants, is unknown. They always come from a tree. Like they never just are born as a treant. You're not gonna see a baby treant running around. There's gonna be a tree that's grown, and then there's a chance that tree will magically animate. And not even treants know how or why it happens.
They can sense it though. If a tree has
Sometimes powerful ones can.
Powerful ones.
They can sense it. But so if they this planting that the trees do, and the boys can do this too, the males.
So yes, the male. So what I was saying is that the males normally when they do it, it's most of the time, like 99% of the time, that tree's just gonna be a tree forever. But like very rarely that tree will become a tree. The females when they do that, that tree is guaranteed
to be a treant?
Has a way higher chance of being a treant.
I didn't know that.
I think it's guaranteed, or it's like a very higher chance. But the females are a lot rarer in the Treant Society. But every time they plant it, that's a treant. Boom, right there. It will grow into a treant.
I did not know that at all. Yes. I thought it was male treants are just treants, and then females are the only ones that grow.
Well, I mean, all
and then when they plant, they there's no specific. Like at least for the males, you said if they plant a tree, that tree is just a normal tree, and it has the same chance of becoming a treant as any other tree does.
Basically, yeah.
But I guess you're saying the females have a higher chance, which is
the females.
I
believe is always a treant. It will always grow into a treant. So that's why females are like they're super rare, but when there is one, there's gonna be a lot of treants. So,
yeah.
So I'm not really sure what qualifies them as female though. Well, I think it's just their body has like female features, I guess. So they will not have beards.
Well, the thing about plants is they have female and male parts to them. So like I don't know specifically about trees, but in like basic biology, like you learn about flowers where they have like the stamen and the stigma. I don't know I'm assuming stamen is the male portion because it's got men in the name. But anyway, so you have the section that produces pollen, and that's the male part, right? Producing pollen, producing semen, it's all the same. You're producing a little gamete, and then you have the whatever it's called, the female portion that collects that pollen. And so you can pollinate yourself a lot of times. It's called self-pollination. So you can have babies with yourself, and you're just making clones.
Wait, what?
As a plant.
Oh, I thought you were saying like people can do this.
No, plants can do this. So I wonder if trees, like, instead of like going at it as animals would to reproduce, I wonder if trees just go over and like give each other their pollen. And, like, to get genetic diversity. You know what I mean?
Or they would just be, like, plant.
No, but, okay, so let's say they put a plant down.
Oh, well, I guess
that's going to be identical to them. So if they want to get, like, a unique individual because a species wants genetic diversity. Otherwise, a disease comes through, everyone's the same, they all die.
Wait, but can trees do that, though?
Yeah, the way plants get genetic diversity, at least one way, is...
Well, I mean,
is pollen is spread. That's why bumblebees are so valuable, because they take pollen and then they go to a new flower and spread the pollen around. So now you're getting all these unique flowers.
So you're telling me bumblebees are kind of like the pelicans that deliver babies to like humans, but they're
never thought about it that way.
Oh,
it's more like a pelican that just delivers you like semen. It's just like there you go.
Wait, so you're telling me during the springtime I get plant
Pollen is plant genetic
That's so gross.
material.
Oh, and I'm smelling it too. Oh god.
Right.
Oh,
it's
that's
a little
horrible
different.
to think about. But so I guess that sort of makes sense. I didn't know. Oh, that makes sense. Why trees they blossom.
Yeah.
That kind of makes sense.
They're
And the
attracting
wind takes it.
pollinators
Wait,
so that they spread their pollen.
Wait, so I just imagine a tree comes over. He's like, "Hey, could you?" He's like, "Oh yeah, wait, give me a second." He pulls like a flower. Here you go. He's like, "All right, here's one of my."
Yeah, but trees, it may not be flower based. You know, like
Well, some trees have flowers. They like bloom before like the leaves come out. They
I
got, like, those little
genuinely do
petals.
not know how trees work. I know like acorns and stuff like
Acorns
that
are seeds.
would make a tree.
Well, I think during
but
this-
like, how do they get genetic diversity? I can't tell you.
I believe it is. If any biologists are listening, don't rage at me. But I believe when it's spring, before the leaves, grow, there's like this little petal thing that grows, and the wind, since they're freaking high, the wind will take it, grab the pollen, throw it at another tree. So I believe that's how
Interesting.
trees pollinate.
So it's a similar process.
Yeah,
if
it's a
that's
similar
true.
process, but it's funnier just to think trees kind of walk up. They're like, "Hey,
Yeah.
I need a kid." All right, yeah, I got you.
Well, they would probably just like rub hands or like, you know what I mean?
That sounds.
That's like, all right, good.
Come here, handshake. Nice to meet you. And then they walk and he's like. he like puts it on his
Smells
mouth.
their hand.
Smells it.
Just a deep like.
Yeah. Puts it but I guess the female ones are like, other treants are like, hey, whoa, you're looking nice. But here's some of my stuff, so I get some treant kids automatically. So there can be treant hybrids then. You could have like some like birch and oak abomination treant.
Well, they wouldn't be abominations. They would just be.
There's
be
no
their own
tree
type of tree.
hybrids, I don't think, right?
Yeah, maybe some are incompatible. That could be true.
Sad.
Okay, but so with that, treants come from trees, and so when a treant can sense that this tree is close to awakening, it will protect it, especially protect it, because it's like this is like a baby basically, right? It's like a pregnant woman. And so it's like you protect this like close to being.
Wait, like the sapling? Or just
No, it's just it's a full grown tree, but it's just a tree.
Well, yeah, they can set. Well, the old ones, they're like, oh, this one has the potential of becoming a tree.
No, but there's some where they're like, this will be a treant soon. Like it has started the process or whatever.
Brothers, let's protect them.
Right, and so they just make sure to watch it closely, make sure it's okay.
Wait, so what happens?
And maybe they greet it when it wakes up, and they're like,
"Hello, my
brother, sister,
sister,
like, welcome."
I just imagine it wakes up. It's like, where the hell am I? Kind of looks around there, just like, here you go. Here's the cake. It's like, I used just to be thinking, and it was pleasant. It's like, you got a job now.
Yeah, like the memes where it's like me, and then it like says something, and then like you says something. So it's like tree, nothing. Tree, nothing. Tree, I think now.
I think.
Wait,
now.
I'm thinking. It's just like a sudden like bam.
Wait. I just imagine. So like, do you know how we don't really remember stuff like when we were like 4?
Yeah.
So when was the moment when we like gained our consciousness?
No, that's a really okay.
I just imagine
consciousness is different than memory. The reason you don't remember things when you're young is because your hippocampus, which is like the center of your memory consolidation and all that, has not been fully formed. Your brain is still forming when you're a baby. But you have consciousness, clearly. Like if you were to pinch a baby, they'd feel the pain, right? They have conscious experience. But the question of when does that consciousness spark is a real question.
It's a mystery.
It's really interesting. But of course, you're kind of asking when does self-awareness come about?
Yeah, well, no, but all I imagine is like, like you're a kid playing with like toys, and you're like, what's going on?
Wait a second. Yeah, it's definitely a gradual, slow process, and we don't know exactly how it works with people. Like neuroscientists don't really know yet. But neither do treants. So it's a really thing to explore. A really cool thing to explore. If you wanted to explore like the process of like if you wanted your campaign to kind of dive into like how does a treant become a treant, you could definitely like look into the neuroscience of consciousness and self-awareness and get inspiration.
And you could have like a really cool combat thing where like there's a bunch of orcs like trying to chop down this like big mega tree, and it's like the treant demigod, like when this tree wakes up, he's gonna be like mega, like OP Treant, and you gotta protect him.
Oh yeah,
that would be a cool thing.
Yeah,
that
that's our alpha Treant.
Yeah, alpha Treant. He wakes up, he's like, you dare.
Well, there's always like like in Avatar, and I mean like the blue people. You have like the giant like soul tree or whatever it's called.
Oh Jesus!
Like imagine that.
Extra
that
idea.
one.
Kaiju Treants.
Yeah, that's true. We're going on tangents here. So
or like the world tree of Norse mythology. If he just woke up, he's like, "Hey, what are these things in my?" Just Asgard getting pulled out.
Oh,
yeah,
right,
like a
right.
mega tree.
Okay, so to finish off this thought, so the Treants will protect trees that are going to become Treants soon. Druids, high-level druids, may also be able to sense them, and they also would be compelled to
believe
protect
it's
them.
only archdruids.
Okay,
So
it's high level.
Archdruids are insane, but yeah. So basically, like the Treants,
they're so one with nature that they're able to sense what the Treants sometimes can sense.
Yeah, because archdruids really, I kind of feel like they want to be a Treant, and the inside they're like, I wish I was a tree.
They're tree huggers that aren't trees.
And then the
Treants and druids are very similar.
Yeah, and then the Treant bends on. It's okay. Pats him.
Yes. Okay.
You're like that squirrel.
So so some more things about their society. So one is Treants are rare, right? They are rare. They like most of the trees in a forest aren't just going to awaken. Like it is a magical process that doesn't happen very often. It takes a long time. Yes, and they die too at some point. So like there's not just like an infinite number of Treants growing.
That would be scary.
But they do tend to stick together. From what I have found, this is not an explicit thing, but they tend to recognize that like
there's a Treant over there.
Yeah, like they like each other. They're all there for the same goal. They protect each other. They see each other as something that they have a very close bond, right? It's like you are me, we are all the same. We are all here to protect the forest. So they stick together. The reason they protect trees when they're gonna awaken is because they just value each other, right? They're very good beings.
So it's kind of like their friend. And let's say someone stupid chops them down. It's like, it's like imagine like you have a pregnant woman, but some guy goes over his freaking like fist and just, kicks the baby. And everyone's going to be like, what the hell are you doing? And then the guy's like, what? Like, I don't know, like someone that doesn't know that, like, I don't know, I'm being dumb. But basically it's like when you chop down a tree, that tree could have been a tree. And
if you go to chop down a tree that's going to be close to awakening, Treant will not let you do that. They'll be watching it, Yeah. We'll get into how they react to that sort of stuff.
Punt you.
But what I wanted to say here is that they're rare, but they stick together. So there's kind of three options, right? You may find a Treant on its own. You may. But I think that's actually the most rare because if there is a Treant, it will likely at some point join a society of Treants because they like to stick together. So I think when you enter a forest, you're either going to be entering a very magical forest that has lots of Treants, and they've like these Treants may have gone to other forests and gathered lonely Treants and been like, hey, come with us. Like we'll, so we can all keep each other safe. Or maybe they've been like, once we have a big enough group, we'll send some people out so we can also protect that forest.
Expeditions.
So basically, you might find a lot of Treants, or you might find none, because if there's a likelihood that they'll be like, you can join us over here, right? This is a forest we value.
And aren't they kind of like a direct democracy too? Like there isn't some like king Treant. They're kind of like, hey guys, there's a bunch of idiots chopping down the wood. What should we do? It's like some are like, I say we don't mess with them. And others like, bro, let's just.
No, that's a very important point. So, like, what is their societal structure in terms of the hierarchy? And if there was a hierarchy, I would say it's probably by age.
Yeah. Age.
The older, the more
wiser.
higher you are. But they, again, just like to sit around and think. So they don't do much talking. I believe there was a quote in Lord of the Rings. It was like,
do they argue?
They definitely do not argue. They basically say, we only say... So they have a language. They have their own language. And it's a very slow language. And it takes a long time to convey information. And this is true in Lord of the Rings. And so they say, we don't say anything unless it's worth spending a lot of time to say.
Right.
So they just sit in silence.
And you might think like, how would you like role play them talking? They actually kind of like move. They like trees in the wind that kind of make that like swaying motion. So they don't really physically talk to each other that much. They might, it's like body language, I guess. They might like creak or they might kind of like shake their leaves. But like I just remember in the scene in Lord of the Rings when they're like, "Are you done talking? Have you guys decided to like attack?" Like Pippin asked that, and then he just turns around. "We just said good morning," and it's been like 6 hours, and he's just like, Pippin's like, "What? Like, you guys need to hurry up." He's like, "Yep, we need to take time." And he's just sitting there. I'm just
Lord of the Rings. Again, these are based off Lord of the Rings. They're based off of Tolkien's work, so they are them. So they're the Ents.
So just make their how to make the players annoyed. You tell all the players to be quiet, and you just play tree sounds for like the 10-hour YouTube video.
Yeah, it's the Treant Council session, and you just sit there and listen to tree sounds. But you mentioned their language, and so let's make this explicitly clear. So they can speak Common and Druidic and all the things we said. So that's how they'd talk to you, and messages can be conveyed. Probably slow, but still perfectly fast enough to make it like not hours long of talking. So they'd be like, "Hello," it's slow, but it's still there. But when they talk to each other in their own tree language, it's not a voice thing. It's a rustling of their branches.
Yeah. So it's kind of like body. Yeah,
it's body language and all that.
Tree sounds.
Yeah, and that's what's really slow. With that is that they can sense what's going on in like miles and miles away, because they have this big network of like society. And even if they don't have a society, just a tree is capable of being like one with nature enough to sense like slight differences. So like if you are chopping down a tree, the treant may be super far away from you, and its eyes just shoot open, and it's like, what?
And it hears like the axe like hitting the wood, and it's just like,
it actually wouldn't even need to hear, like that would be something you'd think would be easy to hear. If you just enter the woods, it could hear like the subtle change in like bird songs, as like birds might like
be
quiet or something, and it's like, oh,
sus.
I know, they know what's going on.
So I just like so that means like in the wind, trees talk to the trees, and like I'm pretty sure they can talk to trees, right? That's like a spell you can have, like you can, like druids can just say talk to animals and plants. That's like a spell, so technically they can talk to like all the trees. So I just imagine someone's like chopping someone down, like a tree down, like at like the forest line. The tree's just chilling there. He's like, "What's that sound?" He's like, "Help! I'm being attacked! Oh God!"
Well, if the tree, yes, but that would be a treant getting chopped down, and that treant wouldn't allow that to happen.
Well, yeah, no, but there's a spell where you can talk to like plants and stuff, so like you can just talk to anything, and they can just do it on command. So it's kind of like a thing they have. So I just imagine the tree wakes up, it's like, "What's that sound?" He's like, "Oh God, my bark is everywhere now." Like,
it's like Annoying Orange. It's a throwback, but tree version.
Oh God. Oh God.
Yes. Okay. And so in general, they might have like a sacred forest that they live in. And like they don't let people enter it. Like it might be like the sacred forest. Like this is our place.
And this isn't just some ordinary like derpy forest. This is like mega redwood, bigger than redwood.
It would be mega redwood, and it would be like beautiful. It would be super taken care of. Like it'd be so much life. It'd be great.
There would be the squirrels playing. There would be like the fox drinking from the water. There would be like the butterflies and the birds singing. And they don't want some dumb, human to wander there. It's like, "Jeffrey, get the shotgun. We're gonna shoot that fox."
If you mess with this forest, this is where you're like getting into.
That's where you're good. That's a plane. Trouble. Sorry, we just suddenly.
Plane just went by. I don't know if you heard it.
We're getting attacked.
Okay, yes, but let's try to move quicker. We're falling into a cycle of jokes too much. We gotta move quicker. Okay, so yeah, if you enter the sacred forest, this is where you might be encountering like a lot of treants, and like they don't want you in.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so we mentioned that they're caretakers. So this is kind of like a final thing that will probably get us into enemies and allies and other things. So they're focused on protecting forests, right? We've established that. That's their general thing. But again, they have different societies. Like there may be one forest here with its own Treant Society, and one forest across the realm in a totally different society. And again, Treants are all unique individuals. And so although they all have this shared goal of protecting nature in the forests, they may come to different conclusions on how best to do that. And so
they do argue.
No, they might. The thing is, they don't really just talk much at all, just because it takes so long.
So it's just rare.
So an argument would take like hundreds of years. Like arguments take long, right? It's not just simple messages. Like arguments are back and forth, back and forth. So they probably don't argue much. No, but what I'm saying is, you may enter one forest of Treants where the consensus is we are hostile. The best way to protect this forest
we kill everything.
is to not let anything in it.
Yeah, we kill everyone that comes in here.
Yeah, but another society may be completely opposite. They may be like welcoming and they just want you to respect everything, but they understand that you are part of nature too. Maybe they stretch their thing over a little bit and they're like, hey, as long as you're not like breaking the nature rules, go for it.
Well, I'm pretty sure most Treants are like that too. Like, I mean, you're not going to have some Treant that like, you're like in the character like, oh, what a lovely day, Jonathan. And some Treant that comes out of the woods and punts your carriage. You know?
well, I don't know. I think I think all Treants are capable of being like chill. But what do they initially start out as? Like, do you have a Treant that says like, leave, please? Or do you have a Treant that starts fighting you? And I think it would depend, just like individuals have their own experiences and opinions. It would depend on their own individual experiences and opinions. So if this Treant has encountered a bunch of like stupid goblins and orcs that keep burning things, they may just click when they see something and they want to attack because that's what they're used to.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it also affects like the certain races too. So I guess this sort of goes into enemies and allies a bit. But like
we can go into enemies and allies. So let's go into it.
So basically, to finish my thought, some races they like more than others. You know, generally they like elves the most because elves are nature lovers. But
as races go. But there can be elves they don't like.
Like drow. They would.
Oh yeah, they wouldn't.
Or high elf. They like wood elves basically. Yeah. But so basically for enemies and allies, they hate orcs and goblins because they know how dudes burn stuff, so they're like, stop it. So they'll most of the time kill orcs and goblins on sight.
Yeah, they don't like evil.
Yes.
The thing is, they don't always know if you're evil, and so they might have a general policy of like, we're just gonna sleep until we see that you're doing something bad, just because they don't necessarily distinguish between a halfling and a goblin.
Or they'll ask you 21 questions.
I believe what was his name, Treebeard in Lord of the Rings? I believe he was a little hostile at first.
Oh, he was very hostile. He was literally about like pop like one of them like a freaking like a lighter. He tried to pop his head off.
Yeah.
So it was pretty scary.
So they don't necessarily know. But before we get into what they hate, although we kind of just did. So let's continue what they hate. So they don't like evil. They don't like anything that is endangering nature. So you may be the best creature on Earth, but if you start using fire like irresponsibly, you're now an enemy. You are endangering the one thing, the most important thing in their very long life. And they kind of take a Mother Nature approach where it's like nature is the most important thing. Like you can care about whatever you want, but it's not going to matter if nature falls, right? Nature supports everything. So no matter how good you are, if you endanger nature, they don't like you.
If you endanger nature, that rhymes. I kind of feel like, probably the most important lesson, kids, to survive a Treant attack is listen to Smokey the Bear. He dealt with them. All right, don't use fire responsibly, kids.
Yes,
that's how you do it. But so they actually, when you say like they just don't like they don't like evil, it doesn't matter if orcs or goblins are good or not. They will kill them on sight. Like it's actually kind of bad. Like they'll just kill them. Because orcs and goblins, 99% of the time they're bad. So they're like, I'm not going to let you do damage before, so they'll kill you.
So that could have implications on PCs that play as those. Like if you're a goblin PC,
they might just kill.
You may not be being friends with.
So like you might even skip a whole quest line with the Treants when you have a goblin friend, they'll just kill them instantly and say, all right guys, I'm kind of brushing off goblin guts from their hands. They're like, what do you guys need? And then they're all like, that was our friend. It's like, he's a goblin. Freaking burn stuff.
Yeah, but of course, like, the Treant may open combat, right? Like, it may initiate combat. That doesn't mean it's going to instantly kill the goblin. And then the PCs can try to say, like, whoa. Like,
they try to persuade him.
Yeah, persuade him to stop. Yeah. And Treants probably would be easily persuaded to stop at least one time. And then if you start to show that, like, that was a trick, it's like, okay, never mind. But they're open for diplomacy. They're good
open
creatures.
to diplomacy. But normally when they see a bunch of orcs or a bunch of goblins, they're like, all right, these guys are about to do something bad. Let's go in and mess them up.
Yeah.
But another thing previously in the episode I was talking about, they don't really talk to things that only live like a century.
Yeah.
Pretty sad. So that means
I think it's 500 years is like if you don't live longer than 500 years.
I'm pretty sure that's only elves that live that long. It's kind of stupid that dragonborn don't, because they're freaking dragon people and dragons live longer than elves. So I'm kind of like,
I feel like that's kind of like a Liger situation. Like do humanoids and dragons really mix well?
But that's a half dragon, and half dragons even live longer than dragonborn.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So I'm kind of like, I'm not dragonborn.
No, but reptiles just aren't long living.
Yeah, a tortoise.
Yep, those amphibians. Oh, those are no what?
They're reptiles.
Okay.
Only frogs and
salamanders. But I don't
crocodiles
think dragon
live up to 100.
That's a turtle. That's not a dragonborn. Anyway, what were you saying?
But what I was saying was basically like, if they look at a party and they see the elf, they're gonna talk to the elf. They're like, I wouldn't say they completely ignore a human if the human talks to it, but they don't even, like, if there's an adventure, a group of humans that aren't doing anything, they won't even, like, talk to them. They're like, you don't know jack crap.
I think they would. I know what you're talking about, and I don't think it's on a individual level. Like, I think they're open to talk to you no matter what you are. But it's about, like, societies. It's about, like, would we let you build a village in our forest? That's the question.
Yeah.
And the reason that they only really deal with creatures that live to a certain length of time is because they live so long, and so to them, a human's life is very short. It's a very short period of their life, and they don't like to make deals with creatures that don't live long because those creatures won't remember the deals. And so the Treant might be like, all right, listen, we'll let you stay in this forest as long as you abide by these rules. And then 3 generations later, if humans go by, and now they're no longer listening, and the Treant's like, oh my, the people we had diplomacy with are dead now. And their kids don't even remember what we talked about. So now we got to do it again.
The Treants come back. Hey, do you remember what we talked to humans? Like, what the?
Yeah, like, exactly.
They're forced alive. Burn them.
Yeah,
they took out their torches. The Treants are like, ugh.
So they're fine with elves because at least elves have some capacity of remembering.
And they can tell their kids, hey, look. Don't mess with these trees.
They get more bang for their buck on the diplomacy. You know what I mean?
True. I'm pretty sure gnomes they kind of like too. Gnomes kind of live in like nature. I mean,
well, now lifespan is not the only thing that matters. If you're just a creature that naturally cares for nature as well, which elves do a lot of times, and so do fae and stuff like that, then you're good. Like it doesn't matter if you remember us. You're already aligned with us.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Pretty sure they don't like dwarves though.
Oh, they
hate dwarves.
No, they do not like dwarves. Dwarves are
I'm not sure why.
Dwarves go into nature and take. That's not. Of course, dwarves aren't really.
Money.
Dwarves don't. They're in the mountains. They're in the mines.
Yeah. No, that's
they
how I
don't
was
really
thinking.
deal
Like,
with
they
Treants.
don't. Unless they saw a bunch of gold, they're like money, and the Treants are like, stop.
Yeah. No, yeah. If in Lord of the Rings, if the dwarves were the ones walking in the forest, I don't know if they would have made it out alive.
Probably.
The hobbits were the perfect ones.
Hobbits, I think, are like in the middle. They don't really care about, because hobbits, like, they don't abuse nature.
They're just simple.
They take what they need. So like a treant will allow you to cut down a tree or like hunt if it's like balanced, like if you need it to survive,
right? If you're respectful about it,
if you're respectful
and responsible,
so like
when Saruman, or not Saruman,
that's Saruman. Yeah, no, he cut down all those trees.
It was Saruman. Okay.
Saruman.
Yeah, when he cut down all the trees,
he got mega angry.
He was like, what are you thinking? Like, we live here. You should know better. This is not right.
Yeah, no, didn't he say that? He was coming, he's like, you remember us, or something like that.
He said a wizard should know better.
Yeah.
A wizard should know better, or something.
Yeah.
Which I which I used in the intro, because I thought that was an awesome line. Because like again, they're very wise and they have relationships with other wise creatures, like a wizard. And so like Saruman shouldn't have allowed that. I doubt he did allow it.
I'm pretty sure Saruman, the reason for him turning, I haven't read the books, I should though, was because he was like, yeah, Sauron's probably gonna win, so why don't we like go?
No. But what I'm saying, whether he turned good or bad, Saruman should have known that if you cut down all those trees in this forest,
a whole bunch of trees.
you have now you've angered the Ents, and the Ents are not a species to anger. You know what I mean? So he's looking around like this wizard should have known better.
He's an idiot.
We're going. We gotta get revenge.
And the thing is, like, even like in that video, they were like thinking like, should we go war? Because they haven't gone to war to freaking forever. They're like, is this a good idea, guys? Like, what happens if we all die? And he's like, well, we're all gonna die if we let them keep doing stuff. You know, like they sort of like argued a bit about it, I guess. But like, I thought this was cool. They like unicorns and fairies. Even though fairies are spawns of Satan.
Well, these are natural. These are like nature things, right? Like
nature things.
Like fae are natural. Even though fae can be hostile, they're not hostile to nature.
This is actually a funny fact. It's very. It actually took me a while to find it. So we all think like gold dragons think of themselves as the wisest beings in existence. They are super wise, you know, they're wizards. Ents will freaking mess with them for like wisdom stuff because gold dragons like to talk about morality and like what's the right thing to do, and that stuff. And then and they won't even like talk with like the characters about it, like, you know, politics. And the Ents are like, all right, buddy, you know, like you might think you're all this hot stuff. I mean, they are hot stuff, freaking dragons. Yeah. But like they're like, I mean, do you remember this time period? But even like the dragons, like what, like, you know, like Ents can talk with gold dragons and beat them in a debate. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, so like even Ents are like, all right, buddy, you think you're all good stuff, and then they roast them in like some like, I don't know.
Because Ents have such
so
deep
old.
knowledge. They'll pull out something that happened eons ago, and the dragon will be like, all right, fine.
Well, now I'm pretty sure Ents lived to like 1,200 years, right?
Long time.
Yeah, so a gold dragon lives to 400, or not 400, sorry, 4,300 years. Well, Ent is pulling up with the 1,200 years, you know, like
right.
Or not, sorry, that's only like 12,000 years. Sorry. Goodness.
Yeah, they live a long time. Yeah. All right, so we've established that they, in terms of their enemies, they don't like anything that hurts nature. Again, they don't always know what hurts nature, but as you said, they typically associate bad with orcs and goblins and fire.
Yeah, so if humans pull up a fire, they're like, all right, these people are probably bad. So literally fire is kind of the biggest, like if your party is holding torches, the Ents are probably like,
torches might be they might be watching you carefully, but they're like, we understand you need light to see.
Yeah, but like orcs always bring like their fire and stuff. So if there's like a group of humans that all have fire and they're like pulling up their carriages or like their oxen and stuff with like the chopping tools, you know, like lumberjacks, they're like, all right, you know, like these humans want to build a town, they gotta talk to us first.
Yeah.
Like, so.
And we'll get in. I'd say in combat strategies, we'll get into like, if they deem something problematic, what they'll do about it. But okay, so that's what they're enemies with. What they're allies with are the opposite. Anything that loves nature. Now there's a middle ground. Again, like they don't just hate or love you. It's not that sort of thing. Like they'll probably most of the time just let you do your thing, assuming it's not egregiously bad. But they're allied with druids and fae and anything on nature's side, which is elves a lot of the time. Like actual allies with them. Like work together. Like they'll like if a druid's coming by, a treant might be like, how are you? Maybe the more reckless ones, or like
I'm pretty sure treants actually like you have to talk to them first, and they won't even talk to you if you're like a human. Like,
but they're open. They're open. Like they like you already. Yeah, you don't need to prove yourself. Like they already like you. It's like I know what you do for nature. We like you. Yeah. But druids can be hard, treants can be hard to talk with. That's true.
Because they think they're all smart.
Well, they're just so busy thinking, and they live so long. Your little life isn't really
that important.
It's just not worth their time most of the time. But fire resistance potions are the key.
Yes, actually, I was going to talk about that. So if you want to talk with a treant, a very good gift to give them to gain their trust is a fire protection potion.
Or gain their audience.
Yeah, or gain their audience. So archdruids will walk up and they'll give them a fire protection potion, which I think is freaking hilarious.
Because they just hate fire so much, so that's very
They're
valuable
like,
to them.
"Ooh."
It's the only treasure
that
or
they
anything
hoard.
that they like actually care about.
There's actually another treasure, I guess you can talk about. They don't really care about it, just, use it all the time. But we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
But I just imagine, like, what happens to, like, a treant, like, you're fighting when you're like, you're gonna burn, and then the treant's like, or am I? And he grabs, like, a bag full of his fire protection, just smashes it on
pops one.
Just pops one.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about kind of like their main allies with humanoids and their main enemies with humanoids. They do have, as you would guess by Treant, if you are like, this makes a lot of sense for Treant. They have a lot of relationships with other creatures in nature. They're very they get involved, right? They're not just a solitary like stay away from me. They are active in nature. And they use nature to both their benefit and to the benefit of nature. So one thing that they use sometimes is actually a very nasty natural animal to humanoids, but to them it's actually quite beneficial, and it's rot grub.
Ooh. So actually, this is I can talk about this a little bit about them. So treants you know how trees like leafcutter ants harm trees. They like eat them and that stuff.
Yeah.
There's like woodworms that like go in the tree, and like wood beetles, I guess. So they'll actually have symbiotic relationships with other animals. So they'll put bats in their trees. They'll put like.
Well, yeah,
moss.
you're skipping around here.
Yeah, I'm skipping around, but rock grubs, ooh. That's what makes treants kind of dangerous if you put this with them. So rock grubs are like normally in a swarm, but when they attack you, they kind of like go into your skin and they burrow.
Yeah.
And they'll travel to your heart and kill you.
Yeah. So rock grubs
not fun. So
treants. So yeah, you just described how rock grubs affect people made out of flesh. But treants aren't putting them on them for not necessarily to be like damaging to anyone, because they don't want rock grubs to just start infesting everything, but they do use it whenever they get a disease called tube wilt.
Yeah,
this is a big disease that plagues treants, and it's really just where their wood can get rotten, as wood can, and it can kill them. Yeah, and it's a disease, but a way that they counteract the disease is they will fill themselves or like introduce rock grub to their bodies, and rock grub not only eats flesh, but it also eats rotten wood.
Yeah, so they're kind of like, let's say you like have like an infection. It's kind of like if you put maggots on it. And it'll only eat the dead skin.
Exactly.
They'll leave the flesh skin.
So the rock grub will only eat the dead wood, and hopefully save the treant, and it actually increases their health. It will make new tube systems within the treant that allows them to like
gain water
and stuff like that.
I'm pretty sure there's evidence of them feeling, because that disease puts them in like an agonizing death if they don't get rid of it. Like they have an agonizing death.
If they have tube wilt.
Yeah,
tube
which I think is interesting. Like they'll feel it and it's not fun.
Yeah, tube wilt's a big threat to treants. They don't mess around with it.
Pretty sure they put they put some like not acidic. They put some like moss or like some like mushrooms on their legs.
But before we get to the other ones, let me just finish what I have on rock grub.
They eat you.
So rock grub. So like we quickly mentioned, if you're fighting a treant that has introduced rock grub, it can make the battle much more interesting, because not only are you getting smashed, but rock grub might like fall on you, or like you might hit the treant with an axe and like wood splinters, but so does like a bunch of rock grubs, and they like land on you. And so when they land on you, like you said, they burrow, but they also no, actually they don't also do anything. They burrow in you, and if you let them burrow into you, there's about a month-long process before they will get to your heart and kill you. But if you immediately use fire or cut them out of you, you're good. You can stop them from doing that. So if this was in battle, you would probably like need to use an action to like hurt yourself to get them out. Like you'd probably have to deal some damage. If you don't, then if like a turn goes by and that you let them burrow, you might be done. You might have to, get medicine later. So that's rock grub, and so rock grub is used by treants to protect themselves from tube wilt. That's a big one. The next one is what you said, violent fungus.
Yeah, then they have like tentacles and they freaking slap you when you get near or when you're attacking them or something.
Yeah, they do like necrotic damage or something. Because they're like fungus, and fungus eat dead things, right? And so they'll, I guess, preemptively start to kill you. Who knows? They'll make you dead before they eat you. But what they use violent fungus for is just to protect themselves while they're contemplating. Because they just sit there in one place for a really long time thinking. And so not even humanoids can come up and mess with them, but other creatures that are harmful to them.
When that deer comes up, he's about to nibble on that leaf. The fungus like, get out of here.
Yeah, like there's insects that would like termites or something that would just be bad for a treant, and so they use this fungus at the base of their legs to make it so that they're pretty safe. They're not trying to hurt nature; they're just protecting themselves from it because they know nature can kill other parts of nature.
Nature wants you dead too.
Right. Okay, another one is bats. You mentioned that one. They just will be like, hey, bats, you can make a home in our
or like
head.
Birds and stuff.
Birds, bats,
squirrels.
To eat insects.
Oh, I just forgot something. Their greatest enemy are squirrels.
No, they like squirrels.
No. Squirrels might accidentally eat. Well, I'm talking about female treants. They'll eat the planted ones. They're like, no, that's like a brother.
Oh, they'll eat the planted
ones.
Yeah,
no, they'll eat the acorns too. And they're like, basically squirrels are like killing off.
So squirrels eat baby treants, basically. Or saplings. Acorns, whatever. But they actually have no problem with it, from what I read.
Well, they're like, it's nature's nature.
Well, the thing is, it's population control, and as being like ecologists understand the importance of population control, right? Like everything has a carrying capacity. Carrying capacity, that's different in ecology than D&D. But anyway, carrying capacity, basically like maybe that's not the right term for it, but
the world has a carrying capacity.
There's only so many resources in a place, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you have a species skyrocket in its population, it will hit the cap on what those resources can provide, and they'll die out. And the problem is, if you have one species that does this, it can kill off other species. So population control is important for keeping a balanced ecosystem, and treants are very aware of this. So they are happy with the squirrels having population control on these trees. So
squirrels get the most treant kills out of anyone. Their points are like
they're not
up.
treants yet. They're just trees. Once you're a treant, you're a full-blown tree.
Treant kills.
But they don't value the potential of a tree equal to a treant. Yeah, every tree has potential. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Potential doesn't work that way. You know.
Yeah, but that squirrel though, he knows what he's doing.
A potential does not equal an actual. Could say that. And treants have that philosophy.
I guess so, but I don't know. That squirrel. They look at you strangely. They're like, I know what I'm doing. As he bites into the acorn. He's like, I'm killing your potential kid.
Yeah, maybe it does.
He knows what he's doing.
Okay, they will sometimes allow sprites to build villages, like in their burrows. And
sprites are nasty.
Yeah.
Little boogers.
Yeah, and they'll be like in them, like a bow. Bough. I didn't know what this was when I was reading about it. But it's basically like a branch. So they'll just let sprites and other little mini things like live in them. Because
do they ride like hummingbirds and stuff, and do they like kill those like beetle monsters from that movie? What's it called?
Tinkerbell.
No. Tinkerbell wasn't some mass murderer going on like a rampage.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's like that Disney movie that no one talks about. It's like there's like all those like sprites.
Oh.
And then they ride those hummingbirds and they're fighting like the decay of the force.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
And the decay of the force are like beetles, I think, or something.
I know what movie you're talking about. I can't say I
don't know.
really.
But no one really talks about it. It's just kind of there. You know.
Yeah.
Sad, but
But
Yeah.
yeah, that's basically everything. So they
Yeah.
hate fire, they hate irresponsible things, and they like nature and all the creatures in it.
And it makes them more angry when you're trying to get out rock grubs with fire. They're like, oh, you dare pull out fire. You're like, I gotta get this rock grub. It's like, doesn't matter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the end of enemies and allies. Unless you have anything else. I don't think.
I don't have anything else. But basically,
I just summarized it. I don't know if we did.
well, no, I want to put one point.
Oh, so you do have another point.
Well, there's like a little one.
All right, go.
If you're
I
acting
got
as
it.
a treant, put some symbiotic relationship stuff. That'd be cool. You know, put like roots and
the bats and the
Yeah,
rock
like,
grub and the
maybe a little badger underneath its roots. It kind of pops up.
yeah.
A little honey badger, and it'll snarl at you.
Yeah, like maybe when it awakens, like all these animals are like, I'm
They're
at
like,
it,
"What
because
the-"
they've been living there their whole lives. It's
yeah,
like,
they're
yeah,
like, this thing's alive. Yeah.
they just run away. Okay.